Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Justin Sider. I'm the Senior Communications Manager at Horizons Foundation, which is your LGBTQ community foundation in the San Francisco Bay Area. Uh, More than 4 decades ago, we helped make history by providing funding for the very first gay games in San Francisco in 1982. Since then, the Bay Area has remained a global leader in LGBTQ sports, with dozens of local queer leagues and recreation organizations creating welcoming spaces where people can compete, build community, find mentorship, and experience belonging. Today, this interactive forum is going to bring that legacy full circle. The panel of local athletes that we've got for you today will discuss how their leagues and organizations have shaped their lives far beyond the playing field and share what it meant to represent the Bay Area at the Gay Games, which just wrapped up in July in Valencia, Spain. So thank you again for joining us. And I would like to start off by introducing our panelists. If you don't mind, in just a couple of minutes or less, please tell us your name, your pronouns, the league or organization that you're a part of, and just a really quick description of that organization. And we'll start with Kat.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. My name is Kat Eno, and I use she, her pronouns. I am part of the Cheer San Francisco team out of obviously San Francisco. I'm both a spirit team member and the recruitment manager. We do have trials going on right now. Just shameless plug there. But what Cheer San Francisco does is we provide grants to other LGBTQ plus nonprofits in the Bay Area. Um, who provide life-saving or saving programs to essentially members of the community. We do this through our Cheer San Francisco program. So we are charitable cheerleaders, but we are volunteers first. So we go out into the community at various other nonprofit events, to other paid corporate events, and we just raise cheer and awareness of things going on in the community, of what the community is telling us that they need, just things like that. So that's Cheer San Francisco. Passing it back off to you.
Thank you so much. Let's introduce Indigo.
Hi everyone. My name is Indigo Hua. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm a part of SF Spikes, San Francisco Spikes, which is a queer soccer club. Um, and it was actually founded in 1982 for the first gay games that was hosted in SF. So a little history there, and it's the second oldest queer soccer club in the country. And we have weekly practices, and we also have an indoor league, and we also host tournaments and send teams to tournaments around the country, as well as we've been at every single gay game since they started. So, um, yeah, nice to meet everyone.
Thanks, Indigo. Isaiah, your turn.
Hi everyone, I'm Isaiah. I use he, him pronouns, and I actually play in a lot of different leagues around the city. But the one I'm here for is FSGSL, the San Francisco Gay Softball League. FSGSL is really cool because we're the oldest and first like gay softball league in the entire country. We were founded in 1973. We also hosted the first Gay Softball World Series, which is next year will be back in San Francisco for the 50th anniversary. We have a lot of different leagues. We do a lot of charitable work depending on different teams and a lot of the bars that are sponsored through. I love to shout out, we have a drag team specifically, the Knockers, who do a ton of work. They do a lot of drag shows. They bring in a lot of money, and they got to the point where they had so much money that their team like doesn't even pay for the registration, and they just donate thousands of dollars pretty regularly. So that's kind of a quick and fast about us.
You'll notice lots of words today like oldest at first. I think that's another hallmark of queer sports and organizations similar in the Bay Area. Like we were the first to do so much of this, the first league, the first, team, whatever. So and that will also be apparent when Marco speaks right now. And I know you've got two orgs, Marco, so go ahead and please do one by one.
All right. Hi, my name is Marco Rodriguez. My pronouns are he, him. And I went to the gay games with my basketball team, the SF Shock from San Francisco Gay Basketball Association. I once was the commissioner there. That was a lot of fun. Uh, and this season, I think we're celebrating our 40th year, which we're the oldest gay basketball association. Uh, I I I love it. I love SFGBA. I'm going to be co-captains this season with my boyfriend. Shout out to Jeff. Um, and I'm also co-founder of Full Queer Wrestling for Rights. We are a nonprofit, and um, we put on wrestling shows. And I think the thing that I'm proudest of Full Queer is that we are activists through pro wrestling. So our next show is actually going to be during the Folsom Street Fair.
Very cool. Thank you so much, Marco. And full disclosure, I'm part of SFGBA as well, SF Gay Basketball League, and Marco and I go way back. Um, but we're happy to have a breadth of sports and organizations represented here, and as well as in the audience. Also in the Bay Area, there's like any sport you could imagine that you want to play is here, like ice hockey, um, tennis, rugby, like we've got it all here. Um, so thank you all so much again. We're going to kick it off with a question, kind of to put everyone in context in terms of where they come from and how they got involved in their sports. So, and hopefully this resonates with a lot of folks here. But I think some of us have been that kid who was picked last, in gym class. Others were bullied for being different, felt like sports, maybe isn't for LGBTQ people. Then some of us may have been queer youth who excelled at sports, but often made the decision to stay in the closet because there wasn't that acceptance within that world. And it's getting better, but the professional sports world hasn't been known for exemplary LGBTQ representation, meaning for a lot of us, we didn't have queer or trans athletes to look up to when we were coming up. So, the question is for each of you, what first brought you into the sport that you play or the sport that you're representing here? And how has your LGBTQ identity played a role in that relationship with your sport? And Indigo, if you're ready, we can start with you.
Cool. Yeah, I think that I grew up playing soccer. My mom played soccer, so I think there's a photo of me at like 2 years old drooling over a soccer ball. And my sister also played soccer, so and both of my parents would like coach our teams. So I played more recreationally, and then in high school I started playing club. And yeah, it was just like the best outlet for me in terms of like, I don't know, just going through a lot of stuff in high school. I just remember like some of my best and like happiest moments were playing on the soccer field and having that consistency. And also like building my own confidence. And then in college, I just continued to play recreationally, and that's when I started to come out. So I first came out as queer, and then I came out as non-binary and trans. And um, honestly, I after college I had an injury, and then I stopped playing for a little bit, and then I was kind of like, I don't know how to like if I can play soccer in the same way because it's always very gendered. And so I would see a lot of like women or men's soccer leagues, but nothing that was like explicitly for queer or trans folks. So when I moved back to the Bay Area, I looked up queer soccer leagues, and I saw SF Spikes, but I was scared to go. So I actually had a friend like 2 years later was like, "Hey, I found this queer soccer league. We should go together." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'll go with you." So we started going together, and it was just awesome to be able to be like, I can play the sport now as an adult without the pressure and intensity, but also as my full self. And so that's been like a really beautiful opportunity. And it's just so great to be around so many other queer and trans people and see them come into themselves as well.
And you mentioned you were scared to go to that very first like tryout. If you don't mind, I'm just curious why, or if any part of your identity played a role into that fear of just like jumping into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm not gonna lie, when I first it's improved now. If you go to the SF Spikes website, they updated the photo. But when I first looked at it, it was like all white cis gay men. And I was like, as someone who's like a person of color and queer and trans, I was afraid because I was like, am I really gonna feel included in that space? Um, but something I can speak to a bit later is that out of SF Spikes, we've formed like a Flinta cohort, or we call it a co-op, but it's a group that meets weekly now. And so that's for non-cis men. And that's been a really nice space to have and to help to foster. And also, like, once I showed up, I was like, okay, there's more other people. It was just like not reflected in the photo. So they've updated that now. And, it's still a work in progress, I would say, definitely. But I think that it's always like a goal to like build that sense of like a welcoming environment. And it's something that I also care deeply about. So I'm very invested in trying to create that space for other people.
Awesome. Yeah, and we will go more into some of the more community building aspects of your leagues and orgs and more inclusion in a later question. But I will throw this current question over to Isaiah.
Yeah, so I actually came out really young. And my parents did the thing where they move you to a new town right before high school starts. So it was really fun, and I didn't want to go back in the closet. So like my freshman year, I played basketball like the winter season. I was not very good. And then my spring season, I played softball. I had a really great time. I made varsity, which was surprising to me because I'd never played before. And so from then I was like, I really, really love this sport. As I like got older and like I started transitioning when I was 20. I was like not really sure. I think pretty same as Indigo. Like, can I really keep playing this sport? Is it really for me? Where I'm from Wisconsin, there's a lot of like beer leagues there, but it still didn't quite feel right. I even moved to Dubai. I played in like a softball league there, had a really great time. And when I moved to the Bay, I specifically looked up queer sports leagues. And the first one that's going to come up if you Google it is going to be like San Francisco Gay Softball. I clicked it, was like luckily in time for like skills clinic and being rated, and I like jumped in head first. I like am coached by Mama Coach John Alexander. If you've met him, he's fantastic, and he like didn't really give me a choice but to be an Eagle on his team. And it just yeah, it felt like it fit. I just this is like probably the first time even playing like Dubai, especially playing in like the beer leagues in Wisconsin, that I feel like I belong on the team and like I have my spot. At the gay games, I kept making jokes that like, I'll be really good at like doing the book, because I felt like all the people that I went with were a lot better than me. But I didn't just do the book. I played really well and I really competed well, not just like against everyone else, but with my own teammates. And it just feels like home. Every Sunday, I'm a teacher, so Sundays are supposed to have Sunday scaries and not be very fun. But instead, now I look forward to my Sunday morning and afternoons having to drive across the bridge and go play with everybody.
Meaning you're in Oakland, right? That's what.
Yeah, I'm in Oakland. Come across the bridge. It is nice out here, I promise. And even for the World Series, we're playing on this side of the bridge. So you'll have fun. You'll see how nice it is. Yeah, come
Yeah,
visit.
just wanted to clarify that for
Yeah.
the non-SF crowd, which I know is represented here. Marco, please go for it.
So for basketball, I want to say I started playing like in fifth or sixth grade, and it was like I didn't have a choice. We had a basketball hoop in front of our house, like attached right above the garage door, and my brother would force me to play basketball. Like he would like threaten to break my toys or steal my Nintendo if I didn't play basketball with them, and I hated it. But there was this one day where it kind of clicked for me. And then once I started getting better than him at basketball, he stopped wanting to play. And from there, I would join, like summer leagues with my church, and then there would be like recreational leagues that I would join. Um, and I I had just broken up with an ex in, I want to say, 2011. And I was just like, you know what? I need queer friends. I thought, like, uh I wonder if there's a gay basketball league. And I went to an open gym and everybody was having so much fun. And then I forgot who, I think maybe it was my friend Brian Perlman told me to join the league. And I joined the league, and I have made like lifelong friends uh, through SFGBA, Justin being one of them. Um, and that's kind of how I got asked to participate in the gay games. And then as far as pro wrestling, my friends and I, we would go to these local independent pro wrestling shows at it was El Toro in South San Francisco. And they would have these like really quirky pro wrestling shows where like they'd have a character who would be a lobster, or and then they would have a librarian character and this hipster character who would come out to the ring in a scooter. And so my friends and I, we started coming to the shows like in wrestling drag. And there would be like a group of us where we actually would started dressing better than the wrestlers. Like we would get custom gear made. And I had a friend who I had known since high school. And after every show, he'd come up to me and go, "You should train to be a pro wrestler. You should be trained to be a pro wrestler." And I was just like, "Oh no, I'm too old. I don't want to do it. My body is broken down. I'm not some 20-year-old trying to do this." And I found out one of the wrestlers, he was like playing gay, like he was queer baiting almost. So he'd always like really pay a lot of attention to me and my friends and would give people like in my friend group lap dances and stuff, like to other guys and stuff. And when I found out he wasn't gay, I was like, oh, that's kind of fucked up. I think I want to that was like the push for me to be like, well, I want to do this because I don't want other people misrepresenting my community. So that was kind of the push to do that. And there wasn't really like an openly gay male wrestler in the Bay Area at the time. So I was just like, hmm, I don't want him doing that and like making a joke of our community. So that was kind of the push that got me into um pro wrestling, and it's been it's been amazing ever since.
Awesome. And the Bay Area is lucky to have you for
Thank you.
sure, and full queer wrestling. Kat, can you round us out about cheering?
Yes, I will say my experience is very similar to Marco's. So I grew up playing all kinds of different sports. My mom had four of us. She needed to keep the kids busy, so we were all sent off to the community center to go do something, be it basketball, softball, soccer, inside, outside. She needed us busy and she needed us tired. And so that kind of continued through high school. I would just kind of find somewhere else to be after school. Because being at home was boring and no one wanted to do homework. And so again, I played soccer and I dabbled in swimming, but wasn't very good at it. And towards the end of my high school journey, I think it was like my junior year, I was like, well, you know what? Is it really a full high school experience if I never do cheerleading? Now, I was kind of like your typical nerdy type. Like, I did not fit the bill of a cheerleader or what my image of a cheerleader was. And so I remember joining the cheer team and making varsity, never having cheered in my life. And the other girls on the team were like, well, Kat, we never saw you as a cheerleader. Like, are you sure this is what you want to do? And I remember thinking to myself, like, why don't I seem like a cheerleader? Mind you, again, I was like fit more of the nerdy profile than like the typical cheerleader profile. And so that's what I had assumed it was. And as I kept cheering and having fun, I had a few people come up to me and ask me, well, Kat, we know you're a cheerleader now, but like, are you like a little, and I was like, well, what does that mean? Am I a little, and I came out later in life. And so at this time I was adamant. I said, no, 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 no. That is not at all what we're looking at. I mean, 5 years later, I was like, well, I guess you guys were right. Um, but I guess that was kind of high school for me. Then again, similar to you, Marco, I went through a really bad breakup. I had been cheering for years. I graduated college, gotten degrees, working full time. It had been years, and I was just sitting in my apartment, like absolutely heartbroken and depressed. But my building was having some event happening. And so I decided, like, you know what? I'm not doing anything better but sitting in my apartment drinking wine. Let's just take the wine and go to this event. And I go to the event, and lo and behold, Cheer SF is there putting on like a pride show in June. And I thought this was like this wild, amazing thing. Like these adults are in polyester screaming out these chants about raising awareness, funds, and pride. And they look so happy and really so like it seemed like a community I wanted to be a part of, right? I had gone through this whole separation from my family because of coming out. I just lost this relationship. It was just a dark time in my life, but they seemed so happy. And so I met with who I later learned was the executive director of the Cheer for Life Foundation. And he was like, we're having we're having trials coming up soon. You should just come join us and see if you really like it. And so I mean, the rest is history. I joined the team and like really found that community that I was looking for. So yeah, it's a little bit of my story.
Love that. Also, so glad to have you here in the Bay Area and with Cheer SF. And Margot can attest. It's always like such a energizing. Like y'all are just an energizing force. But y'all were at the gay games cheering for other sports. So they showed up at the basketball arena and just started cheering for. And of course, you know, we have a connection because we're from SF, so they were cheering for us. But they're cheering for other teams too. You know, they give it out all around. But it's like I'm just so impressed with the work that y'all do. So thank you so much. Um, I want to get a little bit personal and ask, you know, how being part of your queer league or your organization has made a positive impact on you personally in the years since you've joined your respective leagues. And that can be part of, you know, within the league, or it can be beyond sports and you're just like a very personal way. It could be like a person that's mentored you or experience you've had, a new perspective that you've gained. But it's kind of like, how are you different since joining your league or your organization? I will start with Isaiah.
I think the one thing is like probably breaking down my own stereotypes about what it means to be like a gay athlete. I met like 10 years ago, like took part in like an outsports thing with Nike. And I thought that I was like fully formed and like had a good idea about like, okay, anyone can be an athlete and be gay. It's perfectly fine. And like, it's just, this is regular, it's normal. But I feel like playing softball now and like being surrounded by, um, honestly, mostly older people, like older gay people that are every like identify and show up in every single way and still crack a ball, throws really hard, all these things. I just feel like it's made it a lot easier for me to really feel certain about myself. I think about like when I honestly thinking about coming out for a long time in high school. Kat, you said that when people would ask you, you know, are you a little bit for me, since everyone knew that I was already, you know, a lesbian, it was like, hey, like, Izzy, do you want to be a boy? And I was like, no, no, no. Like some people do, but not me. Like that's not for me. I would never. I was like, look, this girl, no, it's perfect. And I was always that was really like my thing is like, you know, I'm not that masculine, you know, I couldn't be. And luckily, you know, my views on that like shifted a lot, but I just feel like getting to see and meet, you know, real people in real life and see them play sports that I love, and just, you know, exist in places that bring me the most joy, has made me just feel really comfortable, really myself in the way that I exist in my masculinity, or, you know, the little bit of femininity I feel like still exists inside of me. Yeah.
So would you say sports helped you come out to yourself a little bit in a way?
Probably, yeah. I think honestly in high school, sports probably helped me feel like, yeah, being a lesbian is right. Being in the locker room was like hard enough, right? Um, I think something that I didn't touch on before is like during that basketball season, the locker room was terrible. It wasn't until I was on a varsity team where everyone's like, okay, like, yeah, you're pretty cool. It's okay. Just stay in that corner. And I thought that was fine. But I think, yeah, I think now as an adult, as I continue to navigate, this existence, sports definitely just makes it a lot more comfortable. Um, I think about, even the way that I look at myself physically, there's a lot of athletes with a lot of body types that look so different and perform all sorts of things. The Cheer SF team, crazy people. I don't know how y'all do any of that. And still, like, it's not like it's just one body type. The people that play soccer, I don't play soccer because adult soccer players are terrifying, even if you thought they wouldn't be. And yeah, I feel like gay sports is just like, yeah, everybody can be an athlete. Everybody, anybody can do it. It's like the Nike campaign, but in real life. Yeah.
Very cool. Let's follow up with Kat.
Put me on the spot there. I was like, oh, I'll wait to the end again.
Switch it up.
You're gonna have to remember the question. I was really engaged in Isaiah's like story that I was like, no, I'm not. I don't remember the question anymore. What was it?
No worries. No, it's how have you changed personally, or what positive impact has Cheer SF had on you since you've joined?
Definitely, I would say Cheer Stuff truly has given me a lot. I think the community was definitely something I needed and still to this day need. Um, I grew up with a very large family. I'm used to like having all the noise and all the chaos and all the drama in the best and all the worst ways, right? And so when I was in that time of my life, it kind of felt like, well, great, now I'm just living for me, just living to advance my own interests. But that wasn't something that has ever really spoken to me. Like I'm as my boyfriend likes to say, I like to save the world. And I have that little bit of a savior complex. And so to any way that I can help or like give to someone, like that's what I'm looking to do. And so CheerSF gave me people who were also looking to do the same thing, but also were pouring into me in that same way. And so I think in a lot of ways, where now I'll never officially say, oh, CheerSF saved my life. They did save kind of like my spirit and my optimism in a little bit, like that small kind of way, because I was just, again, that dark place where you're losing all hope and faith in the world. And then you find these cheery people smiling, waving these sparkling palms in your face, saying, raise funds, awareness, and community. It's kind of infectious. And then I think the thing that I really think back to the most, because there's a point in time where, right, you want to give up on something. And so I think it was maybe like my first year of Cheer SF. I was at SF Pride and I was like, honestly, like it's so loud. This is so much. Like I can be gay at home. There's this little girl who had run up to me and she was like, oh my gosh, you're a cheerleader. And I was like, yeah, I'm a cheerleader. And she was like, I want to be a cheerleader just like you. Can we take a picture together? And there was something about this little girl dressed up in all rainbow, tugging her little sister along that really like spoke to my heart. Where it was like, even though there's moments where like in life it just feels dark and like daunting and like too much and I just want to go home and hide in my corner. There's someone outside who needs to see you, right? And like it may not always be me, it may be somebody else, but I think that's what CheerSF gave me, like just this ingrained like sense of like worth, like regardless of how dark my life gets, there is something worth getting up and leaving my house for. So that's what CheerSF has given me.
I mean, that sounds more than, I mean, just a little like you said, I don't know if it saved my life, but I mean that it's still like really a significant impact that it's had. And I think that's what community does in general for all of us. And that's, kind of the major thing we've got going on here today. Marco, do you want to give your perspective?
I so I was thinking about this. I think really SFGBA when I joined in 2011, it really allowed me to be myself, because when you play in these recreational leagues, for all I know, it's mostly straight guys, so you kind of have to like play the part. And SFGBA, there are men that are effeminate, there are men that are masculine, there are all types of men, there are all types of people. So I felt like I had a space, especially a space in the Castro, that I could really uh, find myself. And if there were some days where I was feeling, a little feminine, I could express that and no one would be like, oh, what are you doing? Like, bro, what? It was welcomed. And that's one of the things that I love about SFGBA. And that also, I have a basketball trainer. My boyfriend and I, we see once a week. And when I joined the league, I had a trainer because uh, I try really hard to be like an okay average player, and I'm okay with that. Especially, I'm 42 years old now. There are a lot of younger, faster, skinnier, more athletic, but I am confident in my abilities because of the league and because of the acceptance from people in the league. And when SFGBA says like we are all inclusive, they truly mean like we are all inclusive. Everybody can come and play all skill levels. Uh, and that's the thing that I really love about SFGBA. And I think starting full queer really taught me a lot about being patient with myself, being patient with others, creating spaces of inclusivity to allow wrestlers. You know, a lot of people think that wrestlers were just big dumb oafs, like, um, but pro wrestling is probably the most creative thing I've ever been involved in. And uh, to create spaces for so many talented queer artists. Whenever we have a booking meeting, I always say the canvas is the wrestling ring is your canvas. Create art. Whatever, you have a dance partner that you're in there with. Create art. Create something unique for yourselves. Tell that story that you want to tell that only you two can tell together. Um, and I'm really proud about that. And I joke that I'm like pro wrestling unk, but me and my co-founder Jetta, she has taught me a lot about patience and she's someone who always has my back. And I'm lucky to have such a wonderful partner who she doesn't let anything slide. If anyone comes for me, she is like ready to go. And I'm the same with her. So we have really done a great job of creating I would say creating our chosen family within pro wrestling. And I'm very proud of that and very proud to be a part of that.
Yeah, again, it's the community and then it's the life lessons that we learn from the community, right?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Indigo, please share with us.
Well, I echo also everyone's sentiments that were shared. Like I think all everyone hit on many of the things I was going to talk about, but so it might be in a positive way, a bit of an echo chamber, but I think that being a part of queer soccer has really opened and expanded my world. Like when I think back to like life before and life after, it's like the amount of friends that I've made, the lovers that I've had through, queer sports. I'm not gonna lie. Okay. Like it's all there. And I think that it just, I mean, I've joined like a lot of different queer soccer leagues through it. I started Flinta Soccer through SF Spikes, which has been huge for like building my own confidence and leadership skills. Um, and it's really helped me. I think other folks have spoken to this, but like having something consistent every single week, it that you're just gonna laugh until your belly aches, like with these people. And also that like they know like real shit that's going on in your life too, and can help and support through that. Or just even be like, okay, we're gonna play soccer and like use this as an outlet. That has meant so much to me. Um, and it's also really taught me that it's like okay to take up space. Like every week for Flinta practice, we have a field reservation, and then often there's like these guys playing soccer before us, and we have to like kick them off the field and be like, it's our time. And it's always like so nerve-wracking to be like, hey, but we go over there and we do get different responses, and sometimes people are really nice, sometimes they say weird stuff, but it's taught me like, no, this is our space. We get to take it up. It's like Flinta started with like just 5 people in a group chat, and then now it's like consistently 30 plus people, and we have like half a field reservation. We could probably take over a whole field. It's very expensive though, um, but like it's like we get to have this space and show up as our full selves, be loud, play our music, dance, all of that. And that's meant so much, especially in the past couple of years with like everything going on. And I think all of the controversy over, especially like trans athletes in sports, like to have a space that's like, no, you belong, you get to be here, and you get to be yourself has been very meaningful to me.
Yeah, and I want to actually, that's a great segue. I do want to talk about kind of like the sub communities that we've created, within these larger communities. I think a lot of times out of necessity, right? Um, and so specifically for Indigo and Isaiah within SFGSL and within the Spikes, maybe you can talk about what it's been like starting the Flinta soccer and then starting the WTNB softball, Isaiah. And because I'll preface this with, I think, as forward thinking as the Bay Area has been, like the queer sports environment is still very dominated by, I'm sorry, cis white gays. So it's really important. I think the work that y'all are doing in creating the spaces for additional inclusion. Um, Isaiah, do you want to start?
Sure thing. Yeah, so actually in SFGSL, I play in the open division. And I know that SFGSL has like three divisions for like the women's plus. And I have a lot of friends that play in this, and so it's just a really great space for people to come to for who just don't identify as men, right? And it just like gives an opportunity to like create community. They're still in the same leagues as us. There's actually some teams that play like in both. Even at the gay games, there was like a women's division and there was like D. So I play in D. And two of the women's teams from the women's like side of the competition for softball came up to play with us. I think they had a good time. I think they were a great team. The Vixens are always great. Join them if you want to win all the time and play lots of tournaments. And so it's a really great opportunity. I will say though, like outside of SFGSL, my partner and I have actually also founded like a new league. It's called ABCD Oakland, and it's for volleyball. ABCD people thought it's just a place filler, but it actually means anyone but cis dudes. And so, like I said, I play a lot of sports. I love volleyball. She loves volleyball. And we created it because there are WTNB leagues, women, trans, non-binary. There's she/they leagues that say like they're inclusive to like trans masculine people. But like for myself, when I show up to places, it's sometimes there's still there's fences because when I show up to a space, like I look like this. I have a very shiny head. I have a beard, and this is like trimmed down. And so we really wanted to create something that was very specifically, very clearly accepting to everyone that just wasn't a cis guy. And so yeah, those spaces, I think when you say that, like in the Bay Area, yes, it is mostly cis white gay men. But I even think sometimes like in our like WTNB or she, they are, I don't want to say ABCD because we are mostly people of color. But even in those spaces, like when we are trying to be more inclusive to not just cis white gay men, we end up othering other people. And oftentimes it comes down to race. So then it's like, yes, if your whole board is all white people, is all cis men, how are you training your referees to not other someone who is like a captain or is a player that isn't showing up with the respectability politics that you're expecting out of us? How do you ensure that, even it's acceptable to ask questions when there's affinity spaces, but how does someone like me who if you say that someone who's like transmasculine can show up to a space and can be allowed in, am I actually welcome in that space, or is it like, is their doors being closed? Um, yeah, I think SFGSL has done a really great job of being super inclusive and making sure that our refs, we have like kicked umps out that are never allowed to be our umps, which I loved it. Thanks, Mama Coach, again. He made that happen. It was incredible. Because they just aren't respecting people's pronouns or they're just being blatantly disrespectful. So that's something like gay softball, like we do that. And I think also the league that my girlfriend and I created, that's we're predominantly people of color, and that's the only time I've ever seen that in any league in the Bay. So yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome to hear. It is actually difficult to find non-straight refs and umps and stuff like that, I found.
Yeah. We
So
have, I mean, our head ump is her name's Stacy. She's great. She's an older lesbian. She is white, that's okay. But she's great, right? I mean, she calls the game better than everyone, and she'll call it another ump. She's our head ump, so she will call out people that like aren't calling things correctly. And she has shut down when we've had umps come onto the field and just on our player cards, we have a pronoun spot because not everyone uses the pronouns that people would assume for them. And so if you're just blatantly looking at this card and still saying something else, then this probably isn't, we don't want to give you our money. I don't want my sponsor, like bars or like community members, their money to go to you. And you don't deserve this contract. So you go somewhere else. Go, there are plenty of straight softball leagues for you to for. So yeah.
yeah, definitely. Indigo, would you like to speak a little bit about Flint soccer and where that came from and your experience with that? And if you wouldn't mind, just in case some of the audience aren't familiar with what Flinta stands for.
Yeah, of course. My favorite topic. Yeah, Flinta started, I think it was like it will be 2 years, I think, in the fall. But basically, I attended SF Spikes, which is it's all gender queer soccer club, and some of us who are like non-cis men, we found that we were like having conversations on the side about how we had some issues with like feeling included in the space. And part of that was like a lot of us were, not, they would split us up to beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And some of that was like self ID. Some of it was like sometimes they would like kind of sort us based on observing our skills. And uh, we noticed that like a lot of us, like non-cis men, would gravitate towards playing beginner all the time together because it felt like we wanted to stick together. And then also, like in the more intermediate and advanced spaces, we felt like there was a lot of like seriousness that we didn't want and pressure. And it was like, the typical like mansplaining how to play a game I've played my whole life, or ball hogging. So like if you make one mistake, they're not going to pass you, or even just not pass you because they assume like you don't have the skill. And there was a lot of frustration and like being overlooked too. And like that a lot of us have played and played at higher levels and like wanted to be able to compete. But and I think there was also the worry about injury because some, not all like of the cis men like would play pretty reckless. Like I've had people just like full on slide tackle me, even though we have a rule that's like no slide tackling. And so it was just like, okay, for all of these reasons, um, we were just like, we want to be able to play in a different way. And so someone started a group chat with all of us, with a bunch of us, and just said like, "Oh, do you want to like go to the park and kick the ball around?" Like, and so we started just by like once a week showing up to random fields. Sometimes we'd have to drive to a few different fields to find space and just like kick the ball around. And then it kind of evolved into this thing where SF Spikes, they were like, okay, like let's help you get a field reservation because some of the people who are on the board started coming to the practices who are non-cis men. And so that was really helpful. And then it started to be more of a formal thing. It's still like we very much like homegrown. We like coach ourselves. So it's also like an opportunity to like for people to learn those skills. And um we settled on Flinta because we actually like, went back and forth a lot, like what Isaiah was saying. Like it's really hard to find an acronym. It's actually a German acronym that means like Frauenen, Lesbian, Intersex, Non-Binarian, Trans, and Agender, which is random. But when we were scouring the internet, I mean, no term is perfect. And I heard about ABCD afterwards, so I think we probably would have done that, but it was too late. But um, I have seen Flinta, like more Flinta spaces since then. And um, yeah, it was like kind of the term that we wanted to use because we wanted intentionality of like, it's not just like a dyke space. There's a lot of places like that in SF, and I have a lot of friends and community who are kind of sit in the intersections of a lot of these communities. So it felt weird to kind of shun people. It's like, oh, if you present one way too much or like are, in a transitory period of your life, or just like we wanted to include people who are all across like the gender spectrum, and really make them feel included, which definitely like takes work to maintain that and grow that. But that was really important. And I think it's been great because it also allows us to have a space to advocate for a lot of the things that Isaiah talked about. Like we have issues within our leagues with the refs being transphobic, and that's happened. And we've left a league actually recently because we're like, they're not responding the way we want to. We just like helped to start a league with a new league, and they had kind of some of us participate in a kind of like focus group to make it more gender inclusive. So they actually ended up calling it like a Flinta soccer league. So that just started, which is really exciting. Um, but yeah, like there's definitely still like issues in like the names. And I think naming things intentionally does matter, but also it's really important that the space feels representative for people and feels like welcoming to people. And so we always try to say like our community agreements at the start. And, some of that's like, emotional and psychological safety of like, not assuming people's pronouns, things like that. Um, and so I think that it's felt like a really good space. There has been pressure to like merge back together more with like because it started a huge departure from like the SF Spikes Club, because a lot of the Flinta people just were like, oh, I like this more. And we actually grew so big. But there are certain times where we come back together, like our indoor league, and we have like an all spikes tournament. And there are like people who are really strong allies of Flinta, but I think it feels really important to still maintain our space and to have a space where we can just be together, because even in that space, it cultivates a sense of safety that, we can't always feel in that larger space.
Yeah, and one thing that I don't think has been mentioned before, but a lot of our leagues and organizations participate or ask people to participate in like social things too. It's like, you know, house parties, movie nights, fundraisers at bars and stuff like that. So it's stuff that's off the field as well. And I think there's a large part of the community that comes from that too, connecting outside of sports too. Um, so we're getting close to 6. I do want to bring in some questions about the gay games itself. Um, so everybody here did represent a Bay Area league or organization at the Gay Games this past summer, which were in Valencia, Spain. And for those that aren't familiar, the Gay Games happens every 4 years, just like the Olympics, but we're not allowed to say it's the Gay Olympics. It started in 1982 in San Francisco, so we were the inaugural location for the Gay Games. And 10,000 or so athletes competed from, I think, 80, around 80 countries. And it took place over, I think, 10 whole days. There's actually an opening ceremony, closing ceremony, cultural things and social things are happening throughout the whole week, not just sports. So I want to ask each of you, just to kind of wrap up in a couple minutes what your experience was like. being there, being among all these athletes and artists from different countries, as well as with your own local, sports community from the Bay Area, representing your city, your region, your state, and then did you have maybe like a wow moment that you could share with us? We'll start with Kat.
Back again, always catching me off guard, Justin, but that's okay. So I was obviously at the Gay Games with Cheer San Francisco. So not sure how familiar everyone is with timing, but Gay Games opening ceremony actually happened the same weekend as San Francisco Pride. And so Cheer SF has we're always at San Francisco Pride. So we had to do San Francisco Pride, missed opening ceremony, but was able to get there in time to compete. It was kind of one of those situations. You land, you sleep, you wake up, you compete. And so it was so interesting because the day of competition, one of our teammates got stuck in Germany. Another one of our teammates was injured from San Francisco Pride. We had already made adjustments to the routine because four people dropped less than a month before Gay Games. And so we were tired, injured, exhausted, and still had a competition to be a part of. In addition to all the fundraising and raising cheer and energy for all the other sports at Gay Games. And so it's safe to say that it was very busy. It was super exhausting, but it was so worthwhile, not just because we took home bronze, but just the energy of every space that we went in. There was such an emphasis, and this was my first Gay Game, so I don't know if this is the case for every Gay Games, but there's such a focus on Valencian culture and being gay in Spain. It was, I don't know if it was the tapas or the drinks or just all the people that I interacted with and had a tapas and drink with. But the energy of community, again, I'm a big community girly. You'll hear me say it every other word. There was just that. There's community. We were all here in this international space. Some people on my team at least hadn't even left the country before. This was their very first time. And so just to kind of be in that space and talk about our experience in life, what it was like to grow up gay, what's like to be on Cheer SF and be gay, what it's like to be in San Francisco and not be, what is it? A cis white gay man. There we go. I was like, what's the fourth one? Yes. I was like, to not be that, like what, like just to have all those late night conversations and feel the energy in the room at every event that we were cheering at. It was truly phenomenal. I will say, though, that my favorite experience had nothing at all to do with the formal Gay Game programming. It was one late night, a day before closing ceremony. So this is what CheerSF was doing. We were all cramped up into one little hotel room, just sitting around and chatting about what being on CheerSF was like and what we were looking forward to about the next season and what we were upset about from the last season and how exhausted we all were. Because again, we just got back from San Francisco Pride. We had done Pride Tour the entire month, hopped on a however long that flight was to come and compete and practice long hours. Exhausted is like underselling it. We're sitting in this room. It's like 2 a.m. just chatting about what being on CheerSF is like and what being a charitable cheerleader is like. And there's so many complaints going on in the room because, like I've said to everyone, one thing a cheerleader can do is complain about other people. And so there's a lot of complaints being like thrown around, strung around. This person should have done this better. This person should have done this better. They're the reason we didn't hit our stunt. So many accusations. But one of my favorite things to do with the team that we've really tried to get into now is like, well, what can you do better? How can you be part of the solution rather than like emphasizing this problem? And so we started asking each other pointed questions. Well, okay, you didn't like what that person did, but how could you make that situation better? You don't like how clicky things can sometimes feel. How can you help change that? And so it was really interesting because there was like different cliques in the room. And so it became this really interesting accidental exercise where now two different groups of people with two different opinions and two different reasons, well, four different reasons for being on the team, had to now have a conversation about their differences in not even just perspective, but experience and how we can make CheerSF an organization for everyone, where everyone feels safe here, where people feel represented, where people feel like they can speak up for themselves and for others and all those good community things. But it was such a beautiful conversation. People were crying, tissues were being passed around, hugs were being had. And like that for me was like the highlight. Like we can say I mean, Gay Games is meant to be like, again, queer people are good at sports. They're good at all these things that straight people are. That Gay Games is a representation of all of that. But I think it was like a microcosm of like the community that I think everyone is looking for. Sometimes it's going to take hard conversations with people who have a similar identity to you. Just because you have a similar identity to someone doesn't mean you're not going to fight and disagree with them sometimes. But we are a community. We share similar experiences, and sometimes it just takes a few hard conversations to remind yourself of that we too are each other's ally and biggest, or should be each other's biggest supporters. But that was my experience. Had a great time. Again, took home bronze. So proud of my team. Dropped like 5 people, and we still got that third place. So incredibly proud of them, and so incredibly proud of every sport that was there. That closing ceremony was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. I've never been more proud to be gay. You're muted. You're muted. Just you're muted.
Thanks, Kat. Still happens even to this day. I was just saying, thank you so much for that story. And it's like, it's funny how sometimes it takes us going to a whole other country with people, even though we're hanging out with them all the time and that stuff, but we just like gain a new perspective when we're all like experiencing a new thing with them together, and you learn more about these people than you would have you wouldn't have otherwise. So thank you for telling that story. And Marco, would you like to go next?
Absolutely. I had never been to the gay games. I never thought I'd ever go to the gay games. And I want to say maybe last September, my friend JJ, who at the time I think was still the commissioner of SFGBA, I was doing a fundraiser for Full Queer at the Lone Star, and JJ, in his very JJ way, comes up and is like, "Hey, boo, Brian and I were talking about you playing on the gay games with us." And I thought he was joking. I'm like, I have not played basketball in hella long. I'm so out of shape. This has to be a joke. And he's like, no, like we're serious. We want you on the team. Like we want you to like body slam people if things get out of hand. And then I was like, I think you're joking. I said, if you guys are really serious, I want Brian to text me. So Brian texted me and he was like, I really want you on, like we really want you on the team. Uh like we love your energy, we want your positivity. And then I was like, oh my God, okay, so like this is not a joke. Uh so then it was just kind of like, okay, like I have to get ready. And I want to say at some point in December, I asked Brian, I was like, my boyfriend's really good at basketball. I think he should be on the team. So Brian's like, yeah, great, have him register. So then from there on, my boyfriend and I, we started training really hard with our trainer. And he had never traveled international as well. He got his passport right away. I had to renew mine. He got his brand new passport before I even got my renewed passport. And I want to say it was like such a romantic experience to land in Valencia, and we rented an Airbnb apartment, and it was just so sweet to just kind of wander around at night, holding hands, uh, eating dinner together in Valencia outside, finding somewhere like, oh, let's go get some gelato, and then playing basketball together and seeing him kick ass playing basketball. I was very proud. It was just, you know, it was just one of those things. Like I dreamt about going to the gay games, but I never dreamt about going to the gay games and being on the same team with this person that I love, and he's like the love of my life. And then I want to say it was probably, I think it was like the gold medal game. We're playing, the score is so close, and Cheer SF starts cheering us on. And it was just almost like this unfair advantage that we had. And it really, I was on the sidelines and I felt like, oh, this is like how pro athletes feel when they have like their cheer squad cheering for them and they're like the home team. It was iconic. And yeah, it just if I were to have planned this trip to Valencia for the gay games, I could not have planned it any more perfect than how it ended up being. And there were things that I feel like I did uh like to contribute to the team when I wasn't even on the court playing. Like we had a few times where players were starting to get angry with the refs, so I had to like run onto the court and like sub them out and like talk to them and like calm them down. Like, please, we don't need a technical. And then there was a situation in the gold medal game where someone subbed themselves into the game, and it's like 2 minutes left, and it's like, uh, I love this guy, great player, but this is 2 minutes left in the gold medal game. We're up 2 points. This is not the moment for you. So I'm like, DeMarco, you need to get back in the game right now. And he's like, what? Like, what for who? And I'm like, come on, get back in the game, sub in. And like right away, the other team gets a technical foul. DeMarco hits 2 free throws. And I was like, wow, I didn't know that was going to happen, but that's pretty good. So again,
And
it was just
you
such a
won. You won gold.
we won gold. Yes, we did. We ended up winning, I think, by 4 points. It was crazy. And then I think it was that night we all met at Brian Perlman's Airbnb, and it was just great just to be with everybody, the SF Shock Waves. I think there were people from the London Knights that were there, and it was just one of those things like, okay, now that the games are over, like we can be friends now. And yeah, everything was perfect. And then the closing ceremony, it was just one of those things where it was just like you see it in movies and you never think that you're going to experience it. And it was just like the highest of highs, like this natural high of like uh this huge sense of accomplishment. It was iconic, and I'll never forget that. And it's um yeah, and to share that experience with my boyfriend made it even more special. It was really great.
So quick medal count. Marco's gold. Kat got a bronze. Isaiah, put you on the spot.
Uh, medal.
What was that?
You got a gold medal.
Gold medal. Okay, awesome. What about Indigo?
Um, you know what? We won a medal in our hearts, and that's what matters.
So did I. Me too. Definitely. Same here. Indigo, any wow moments for you and at gay games, and how was it for you?
It was also my first gay games. It was an incredible experience, memories I'll have for a lifetime. I will say, like, uh, I got top surgery like 3 years ago, and being able to, oh, the Flinta soccer teams all had like, we were all on one pitch together. So Division 1 and Division 2. So it was so fun, like kikiing with the other teams from around the world, on the sidelines and getting to know one another. And then after like it was so fucking hot. Okay, it was like 90-degree heat. I just want to say that. Okay, so the fact that we've been survived because people were like passing out, like it was serious. And if you think you can, we all trained really hard, and then you get there and you're like, I actually like my body is freaking out. Like I don't know what to do. So the fact that we were running in that type of heat, playing three games of soccer a day was kind of wild. Um, that we stayed upright. And that was like 4 days in a row of doing that. So it was intense. But we would immediately like rip our shirts off, and there were other people who had gone top surgery. And it was just like, oh my God, it feels so nice to like be in this space with other people in that way. And I would say like one of my favorite moments was just like getting a bunch of Flinta people, like we became friends with like other people from, other countries or other states that were there. And we would, all the Flinta people would go out together and just like take over the street. And we would just, we'd be like, oh, like there's no like, we're not close enough to like where the gay club is. But then we were like, wait, we can make any club gay because there's enough of us. So we would just rally everyone, go to wherever, and we're like, it's gay now. And then we would tell them to play Bad Bunny, and that was usually what made the night good. So just saying that that's a tip that I've taken in life lesson I've taken back here is that you can make any space gay, and you should definitely ask them to play Bad Bunny.
No, I'm gonna definitely try that. And so we are after 6 o'clock now. I do want to remind folks, if you want to ask a question, you can do it in the chat, or we'll give you an opportunity in just a minute to do that live if you would like. So get a question ready if you've got one. But I want to get back to Isaiah. Sorry, Francisco. I wanted to make sure Isaiah got a chance to to tell us how the Gay Games was for him and any wow moments that you had.
I think that my wow moment started 20 years ago. I came out when I was 11, which I turned 11 in 2005, and the Gay Games in Chicago was in 2006. And I had MySpace and I was online. I should not have been, but I was. And I learned about the Gay Games in 2006, and all I thought was like, wow, I'm gonna do that someday. Like, I'm gonna go to the Gay Olympics. It's gonna be so cool. At that time I was like, I'm gonna play soccer. Clearly did not do that. Because that was like my sport then, but I was like, yeah, I want to do this thing. Like I'm an athlete, I'm gay, let's go. And so I feel like at the opening ceremony, San Francisco gets to walk in first because we hosted the first one. And so it's like walking in first, and then there's just like it's mostly empty when you walk in first, right? But then you're like sitting and you're watching all these other people come in, and they're like they have like their country flags and like their pride flags, and everyone's just like so excited. I definitely started crying because it was like, oh, I made it. There was like a point in my life where I was just like I couldn't see past like being like 24. I was like a teenager. I was like, I don't see anything. Like, what does that mean if I can't imagine like being, 31 now? And I did it, right? Like I'm 31, I made it, and the imagination was being at the gay games. Like here I am. I did this thing. So I think to me, like that was my biggest wow moment. And like I had teammates that went to the 2006 gay games. Yeah, and even at closing ceremony, it's just like everyone for softball has like a really cool shirt. You should get one even if you don't play. We had the best shirts, just hands down, and like everyone has their medal on, and it was just like wow, like we really came here. We met new people. We played really hard. It was so hot, so hot. I've never subbed myself out of a game, and I like wet bulb affected myself, and I had to because I was gonna die. But yeah, I think to me it was just literally I was there. I did it, and I did it with people that I love and spent so much time with that I felt like I grew up with them after the amount of hours that we were together in a day. Um, yeah, it was great.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that it was all mostly very positive experiences that you all had at the Gay Games.
Really.
And same for me. It was definitely awesome to be there with Marco and all of our SF basketball folks, and then meeting just people from around the world. It's just there's no experience that can match what that's like. So, um, I want to say thank you to everybody that's joined us today. This is going to complete our discussion portion of the panel, and we'll move on to Q&A in just a second. But I want to give everyone an opportunity to um, find out how they can connect with our panelists, sports leagues, and organizations here. So you'll see everyone's Instagram handle up here, as well as the one for Horizons Foundation. And if you'd like to sign up for more panels like this and hear about other events that Horizons Foundation hosts, you can sign up for our newsletter at horizonsfoundation.org. So again, thank you so much. Stay on, please, and we're just going to stop the recording right now.